Hi people, good morning and welcome to योगेश मार्केटिंग्स डिज़ाइन डायलॉग्स। आज आपको लग रहा होगा कि हमारी सेटिंग थोड़ी डिफरेंट है, एज इफ यू ओपन अ न्यू आउटलेट। We wish so, but not really. We are on a live site today. So we are not shooting in our generic studio, but on a live site to understand the basics of architecture and designing through the person herself. With us today, we have a daughter, a wife, a mother, an educator, but most importantly, an architect designer, Mrs. Veepa Jariwala. Welcome to Yogesh Marketing Design Dialogues, ma'am. How are you?
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. You tell.
I'm doing good. Thank you for taking this up.
My pleasure. We are sitting in a 1500 square feet plot today, with common walls on both sides. Multiple challenges like light ventilation, wind circulation, to actually have three families in this plot were being faced while designing this whole setup. But now let's break it in constituents to understand how designing is actually done in a standard 1500 square feet plot size, which is generally available in the market entirely in all the metropolitan cities. Viva ma'am, what do you have to say on this?
So, talking about this project, where like we've already mentioned that usually, in market today, a 1500 square feet plot is a standard plot that is available. And here also, the client had that constraint that we had this plot, which was a 1500 square feet of plot. Now, if you're talking about a 1500 square feet of plot, the challenges that one faces is common walls. So you have these common walls on both the sides. Then so now how do you, because only the front and the rear are open, how do you incorporate light and ventilation inside the
Exactly.
house? Then the second challenge is how do you incorporate services, because like here what we've done is incorporate cooling system, air cooling in the common areas. So you need duct for that, the plumbing ducts, how you're placing your services. And the third is, you need rooms that look large. Now if you're talking about a 3-family house, and you're talking about almost so 6 plus kids staying in this room, in this house, you need a larger space.
Very true.
Larger living room, larger dining area, you need larger bedrooms, you need at least 3 wardrobes, right?
Also, multiple kitchens, maybe multiple living areas or multiple open spaces for all of them to actually.
Yes. So the challenge was all of these, and how we've taken up this each of it, and how we've addressed each of it is how what we'll see here in this design.
People, in no manner are we promoting or branding any stuff here. We are just wanting to explain an idea or a design from the very roots of it, from the very basis of it, to actually enable people to understand, some young minds or some fresh graduates or just a layman to understand that what designing is.
Entry for the vehicle parking and entry for the pedestrian entry. We have a motorized shutter that opens the parking lot for 2 cars. And then coming to where you can walk into the house, we have another separate entry, and the entry takes you deeper inside the house, and you have a large wooden door that is designed to take you inside. Once you enter, there is an entrance lobby. Basically the house begins from the first floor, but on the ground floor you have one entrance lobby, a bedroom for the parents, and a small pantry. Now if you're looking at the bedroom, we have a large enough bedroom, say around 350 square feet, with an attached toilet and a clearly defined wet area and dry area. So this is how the ground floor is. Then an open staircase takes you up to the first floor where the house begins.
In this segment, people, we shall talk about designing in general, of how architect Veepa Jariwala is also an educator and her reflections of this new young people entering this industry. To start with, Veepa ma'am, what is designing for you? Why is the name space art there, as in, in the reference of this industry?
So for me, design is very individual. I might like a certain trend, but my client, so usually I am Space Art Studio is more into residential designs.
Okay.
And residential designs or residences are places where you are your own self,
Very
right? A
personal.
family is, yeah, it's very personal to you. So understanding the client, their needs, their requirements, and their aspirations
Mm-hmm.
is what we focus on.
Okay.
And then of course that vision, as a designer we have of what should be given, if you're talking about the contemporary terms in how the design should be. But the design should be beautiful, aesthetically beautiful, but it also has to be easily maintainable, right?
Understandable.
And then it goes a long way. So also understanding how they live, how they eat, how they store,
Mm-hmm.
right? All those go into um, designing for people. So
Also,
this is
client
what.
counseling would, in a nutshell, is something which is very
Yeah.
essential to you as a designer.
Yes, so the initial meeting that I have with the client, I try and
Mm-hmm.
understand the client. We also visit their houses. So I go to their house, I understand how they live, how how they are interacting in the family, how they're storing their things in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So all this the client might not be able to tell me,
Very true.
but with my experiences I'll be able to understand the client better.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually क्या होता है, कभी कभी ऐसा होता है that some ideas they will come up. And then I will be able to justify it more if I know, does it suit their purpose.
I understand. So
So
this is a very interesting, technique which you have taught to us today. I believe I'm learning this for the first time. That you go into the existing setup of the
yes,
family
yes, I always
and
do.
take in inputs from that. So what
Yes.
I have learned up till now in a very short span is that counseling is always done in an office,
Yeah.
or in the client's office, or maybe in the the other party's office. But for the very first time, I'm hearing this, that you go into an existing setup, a living setup of that family, and take in experiences from there, which obviously they might not be able to express to you.
They more. And then you upgrade it, of course. But then the basic lifestyle usually doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
It can, of course, upgrade, but
Very true.
it is. So someone might would like a open kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Someone would not like an open kitchen. Now this
Mm-hmm.
definitely depends on how you're living,
Very
how
true.
you're interacting with your family, how you interact with your guests.
Mm-hmm.
So all that is where that house is then individual to your family.
Very true, very true, and that is why I believe you collecting this, collateral information is very important.
Yes.
Besides only just sitting across the table,
Yes.
it is more
Yes.
like you going to, wow, this is so amazing to go into an existing setup to understand
Yes.
how a person lives. Now, generally, whenever you are designing houses or constructing such huge setups, every person might be having a very huge dream.
Yeah,
घर सबके
it
लिए बहुत
does.
एस्पिरेशनल चीज होती है, especially in our culture.
Yes.
खून पसीने की मेहनत and everything of that sort.
Yes.
So how do you actually understand all of this, जिसका शायद सोच बहुत मतलब इन अ टर्म एक्सपेंसिव होगी, बट उसी को इस बैंडविड्थ में कन्वर्ट करना कि it actually reflects and is more economical also in reality, मतलब the bridge maybe.
Yeah. So this is where my 20 years of experience comes.
Has to be.
Yeah. So so this is what I was telling, that in an Indian culture, a house is the ultimate dream of a person,
Sanctum
right?
sanctorum.
Of course, over a period of time, पहले मुझे याद है clients would tell me that or clients would, or we had elders would always think this is the only house that I'll be living in all my life. But eventually abhi hota hai that people do think about upgrades later in their life.
Very true.
Yes. So understanding, again coming back to the same thing, understanding the basis of their lifestyle, right? And then thinking about the upgrades that can come in terms of how I'm using the spaces, how I'm using the furniture, how am I using the lighting or flooring, all that then encompasses how it revolves around how they're living, right?
Very
So
true.
this is what I think it comes out of experience.
And that is the only way to get there.
Yes.
No textbook or a lecture can teach you what experience can.
Of course, academically, what we're teaching students are very idealistic conditions.
Not
right?
practical.
Yeah, so finally you have to come to the market, look at the market,
Mhm.
look at what is available in the market, look at how people are, the behavioral patterns, and
Mhm.
then design for them.
I believe amidst all of this, communication as an aspect is very important
Yes, it
and
is.
very crucial.
Yes.
So, if I come to you as a client, as a very layman, I would describe my idea to you, which would be very grand, very amazing. I might not be able to, correct it technically also, but I would just speak it out to you. Now, how do you, capitulate the idea and communicate it to me as to what all from that is possible?
So the first thing is, the basis on which Space Art Studio, the foundation of Space Art Studio is
Mm-hmm.
building up a trust with your client. So if I built up that trust with you, and
Mm-hmm.
there is that, mutual trust and respect that generates
Very true.
in the beginning, that is where then the whole process becomes more harmonious, right,
Mm-hmm.
and more joyful for
Very
both
true.
of us,
Very
for the
true.
client as well as for me. So that is where I begin with first.
Just I'll cut you short here. This is so ironical. Generally, what we get to hear, यार घर बनाना है यार बड़ी मुसीबत है लंबा समय लगेगा क्या करे कैसे करे मिड में यार फालतू में ही शुरू किया इससे अच्छा तो बाद में ही करते हैं लेट हो रहा है ये हो रहा है एंड फॉर द वेरी फर्स्ट टाइम आई हैव समवन विथ मी जो कि बोल रहे हैं कि दिस इज अ जॉयस राइड
Yes.
दिस इज सो आयरॉनिकल
Imagine if that is your most precious dream, and if you do not enjoy the process, क्या मतलब है?
wow wow so true and
So
so eye-opening
I that is my greatest. I would say my greatest. Greatest what
achievement.
achieve, or my greatest intent, I would say,
Uh-huh.
to make it a harmonious process for both of them. See, I don't have to design one house. If
Mhm.
I keep on fighting every day, then this is not even enjoyable
Very
for me
true.
as a
Very
profession.
true.
As much as my client who's designing his dream house.
For you, it might be just a house. For
Yeah.
him, it is the house.
Yeah. So even for them, if the process is not enjoying,
The result
then
is not.
result is also not enjoying, and then it that doesn't give you,
The
that
satisfaction which you need.
pure
Very
happiness
true.
that you really want to.
For a fact, this is a very courageous outlook, a very bold outlook. Most of the times, what we hear is, keep eventually, while the site is getting completed, maybe the terms are not really how they started initially. Things are up and down and everything. But for the very first time, I'm hearing that this process can be enjoyed, or rather, should be enjoyed. Because you're making your dream home, making something for which you've collected resources all over your life, and now you're putting into it. So why do you have to cry amidst the whole process?
I strongly believe in it, and my studio stands on that. And here I just want to mention my, because
Uh-huh.
it is so I'll talk about a little about my mentor. I'm following my mentor. It's a Just Imagine,
Mm-hmm.
and he's Mr. Mahesh Toshniwal.
Okay.
And so I always loved my profession. I
Mm-hmm.
loved, how I was designing every day. But his inputs on, so he does a lot of law of attraction and corporate trainings and all that.
Wow.
So
Mm-hmm.
in one of his trainings he told us that, how we just have to see how we're adding value to our clients,
So true.
and how Space Art Studio is adding value. So this is, this just stuck by me, and I said the process has to be, how they're going to enjoy building their house,
Very true.
and as much as I will also enjoy them.
100%.
So this is always, how I get back from. So if my client, so just last week, my one of my clients who shifted 3 months back, she called me. She's some 70-year-old lady,
Mm-hmm.
and she called me and said, Veepa, I'm so thankful. I listened to you. I'm really enjoying my house. It is less maintenance, and I said this is the feedback I love,
Aspire to achieve.
because it's coming after 3 months of your
So
shifting.
true. So it's
So
out of
now you're
experience
living
and
in that
living.
space, and then you are giving me that.
Exactly.
So I said, you just put up a
Testimonial
video.
or something
Yeah,
of that
video.
sort.
No, I want a video that's
Uh-huh.
coming natural,
Has to
and then
be.
I'll put up a test. I'll put up this
Very
in my.
true.
So this is the greatest happiness, that is.
Ma'am, and more than words, your expressions speak louder
Yeah,
right now
it is. It
of
is.
how important it is for you to be a part of this industry. You're
Yes.
not here to just fill your pockets, maybe. You're here to get some good sleep at night,
Yes.
which you get
Exactly.
by actually satisfying a
No, I will
person.
not say I'm not here to fill my pockets. Of course, I have
Everyone
to earn.
is.
Yeah, I have to
Everyone
earn.
is.
But I think that it's not only earning.
Very true.
So happiness is not just
From
filling your
materialistic
pockets.
things,
Yeah,
yeah.
just filling your pockets. But this feedback that has come, or even this client who's so happy now.
Mm-hmm.
So it that is your feedback.
Brings
That
a
is the
smile.
greatest
So whenever
achievement.
you go around this place, you'll see this building and you'll
Yes,
smile
yes.
that I made it, and the person who are there in it, they love it.
Yeah, that
Wow,
is.
so beautiful. Now, let's take a right turn from this conversation to you being an educator. This industry is ever growing now, growing at a faster pace than it was, ever growing before in any of the decades, be it until 2010, until 2020, prior to COVID, after COVID. What is the reason for this influx now? Huge number of graduates entering the market, huge number of designers, architects entering the market. So, what do you think of this? Is it healthy? Is it not healthy? Or the graduates who are coming, are they well equipped practically to understand the market? Or right now is this only a system wherein they're taking admission, they're having theoretical knowledge, they're entering the field?
So design as a field has now expanded greatly. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
greatly it has expanded. So I have students who have done architecture and they've shifted to set designing, or wedding venue designing,
Mm-hmm.
or graphic designing. So you do not restrict yourself to a style,
Typical
a kind of
mm-hmm.
design. You have opened your
avenues.
avenues. Now students, so many students coming. I think since the market has opened up so much, since
Mm-hmm.
designing has opened up too much, people have become more aware of what design is. I think there's a lot of people who can
Join
be
in.
part of it.
Very true.
Yes,
So, in technically, if we say the demand has increased,
yes, the
and
demand
that
has
is why the
increased.
supply
Yes,
is
yes,
also
yes,
trying to cope up with
yes,
it. It is
yes,
not the
yes.
either ways round, wherein the
No,
supply
no,
is huge and the demand is less.
no, no, it is not.
Perfect.
The other thing is, yes, academically, since I am also in academics, I am a
Mm-hmm.
visiting professor at Ideas Nagpur.
Mm-hmm.
So
Since how many years, ma'am? Just for the audience.
2012 I had joined Ideas.
My God, India won the World Cup twice in 2011. You joined 2012. We are sitting in 2025. 13 years, people.
And this time women's team won.
Ah, exactly. Wow. 13 years.
Yeah.
13 years to her being an educator. So, एक perspective हम ये चीज़ सोचे to all those who are, here listening to me. This is so ethical कि while you're in the field, you're also training the field. So you're not just in the field to design houses or spaces. You're technically designing people. When we talk about this, this field of you being an educator, so we've already discussed how you are giving it back to people. You're not just designing spaces, but designing mindsets, ideas, and eventually careers. What challenges do you face as a lecturer, as a professor, or as an educator?
No, I would not say there is any kind of challenge, because almost like 12 years I've been now into teaching.
Teaching.
So I will not take it as a challenge. It is again a pure joy,
Mm-hmm.
because here there's a very beautiful symbiotic relationship that I share when I'm teaching. It is not teaching, it is mentorship.
Even
So
better.
with my students, so what I give them is my experience and my practical, because I'm working in field, getting back, letting them know how the field works, how the
Mm-hmm.
market works, is what I'm giving them. And what I also gain from them is their youthful energy that keeps me youthful
Very true. New
always.
ideas, maybe.
New ideas, yes. So their designs are not constrained in that
Mm-hmm.
limit,
That box.
that box.
Mm-hmm.
So they keep exploring, and somewhere when you are in the market, when you are in the profession, you forget that kind of exploration.
I understand.
So that inspires me, exploring things. So there is this kind of a relationship. So I look forward to going to the college every time I go. I interact with them more, I think, and they complete my love quotient.
Wow. Is your teaching again, ma'am, restricted to college spaces? Or do you also go on tours, visit sites?
No, so yeah, I take it a point. So now this college that I'm teaching in gives me a lot of creative liberty.
Uh-huh.
So, and that is what is very important for any creative person,
Wow.
right? So here I just have to inform my principal or my dean academics and tell them that I am taking the students to say, so we went in between to last year to Salegaon. So Salegaon is a village in Goa. And there we stayed for 7 days and we did the settlement study.
No.
This time I took them to Nalanda, the new
Goa people
university
is
that was
not
designed.
only about Baga. Listen to her. It's also about Salegaon
Yeah,
and
it is also
civilization.
about it is about villages in Goa. They're so beautiful. Then I took them this time to Nalanda. So Nalanda campus, that is newly designed university.
Very true.
So we did study the university there, and then now they are designing a part of the campus.
For
responding
Nalanda.
for Nalanda.
Wow, isn't this huge?
Yes.
So so let's get to the inception of this idea. She had an idea that let's take these children out of the classroom. Let's push them into an open field. She took them to Nalanda. She explored that whole setup, and now her students are designing a space for Nalanda, a university which, if I'm not wrong, was the first university since known.
Yes.
And
yes.
people from various countries, be it China, be it Mediterranean,
yes.
be it Europe, maybe travel to this particular place. And now students from Nagpur, from an institute of Nagpur, are designing a place in Nalanda. I don't think, ma'am, it can get any bigger than this for you as an educator.
I think so I believe in a lot of travel. So I myself travel a lot. I do a lot of travels. I do a lot of solo travels. So I think travels in a way expands you.
Very true.
Meaning nothing like travel.
Experiential learning is something which
Exactly. So how much ever in the classroom I tell them, double volume, the space expands, the light ventilation, how much ever I say, they will not understand, But if I take them there, and show them, that, how, there is a sense of arrival, how, there are pause points, how do you, so what kind of spaces do you design? If I take them there, I think it is way better.
Wow, wow, just the description of the whole thing actually intrigues any person to know designing more as a field. It is not just about you being in a classroom with a textbook and a pencil. It is you literally designing a campus in Nalanda. I believe, ma'am, this is something which is important in this system right now. This is what will instill the trust again of people.
So similarly here also, the students have to enjoy the process of designing.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be. Wow. And what better for them to think that while graduating, we're designing something for such a great institution.
Yes.
I cannot just stop speaking about it. Beautiful. Ma'am, when we talk about travel, let's travel back in time. What do you say? Let's travel back in time to when Veepa Jariwala thought of becoming an architect designer. When the first idea hit, I'm assuming that you're a first generation designer, first generation architect. What was that reason for you to choose the field when this field was not even mainstream? It was only doctors, engineers, some people getting into government, establishments. It is then when you chose this. It is, I believe, 2 decades that you've spent here, or more than that, if I'm not wrong.
2 decades.
2 decades of time you've spent in this industry. You still sound as if you've graduated yesterday. How has the journey been, ma'am, and what led to this?
So here I would want to mention my father, who has been a guiding force, through my journey. So he was the one, because I was very creatively inclined person, and I was, trying out options to see what I wanted to do. So he was the one who introduced me to, what architecture is and what building, designing buildings was like. So I explored that and I thought, yes, I can do architecture. I want to do architecture. You would not believe that even when I got admissions in VRC, Nagpur, now VNIT, and I wanted to shift to hostel, he agreed to me shifting to hostel because he also thought that living in a hostel, you will become more independent.
She's so intriguing that he had
so
this
even
vision
during
at
that
that
time,
Exactly.
and living in Nagpur, he still,
Agreed.
I've been a hostelite all my life. So graduation in VRC, and then post graduation CEPT Ahmedabad. So that was another place which gave me a lot of exposure in terms of design, because Ahmedabad is a hub for design.
Okay.
Right? And the freedom, again, that time also I traveled a lot. So I just used to inform him, Papa, I'm just traveling. And my mom was super supportive that way. So
Wow.
so this is how my journey has been through when I was a student, exploring, inside the classrooms as well as outside the
Okay.
classrooms too. And so after so it is, I think 2002 I passed out, and after that I shifted to Nagpur, married here, and since then I've been working here. Opened my firm in 2003 Feb, and since then I've been working
And working and
in
working.
Nagpur and around Nagpur, out of Nagpur. Yeah.
So beautiful, man. So beautiful. In this journey, often, we have these phases where initially we might be struggling to get
Yeah,
work, we
yeah.
might be struggling to establish ourselves. And, things take time, especially in this field, things take time because people trust you. They give you something which is their dream in your hands to do.
Yes,
And you
yes.
need good setup or good reference for that. Amidst all of this, you being a first generation designer, and that too in early 2000s, how did you actually travel through this phase of establishing yourself?
So initially, when I look at designing or architectural designing in Nagpur, people were not very conscious of it.
Exactly.
So I remember initially, um, that might sound even a little gender bias, but even giving out projects to a woman would be a little questionable.
Very
I
true.
don't know why they say architecture is a woman's field, because initially I did struggle with that also. So times when my designs were accepted, but
But the
on-site
gender was not.
execution, no, on-site execution was given to
Someone
someone
else.
else.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone through all that process until now, where of course people have more opened up to
Very
even
true.
women practicing
And
architecture
executing.
and executing also. Experiences count. So this 20 years of experience is counting, where there's more trust that is built up. And yes, the journey has been where I remember in my first project, I remember laying out the tiles on the floor to show the client how it is going to look eventually, because they were not able to visualize through the
Obviously.
drawings.
Understandable.
To now, where in this project, I'll tell you particularly, the client was like, aap jo bolo, trust me on
That
this
is the
one. He was just there to pay the vendor. I would send him two options, because I was guilty that if I just send him one, it's very bad. So I used to send him two options. Finally, I was the one who's choosing the design. So it was like that. So this complete project is 100%, I would say, trusted on me. How I wanted to execute, what material I wanted to use, what lighting, everything was trusted on me. So that becomes a greater responsibility,
very true.
because I cannot then point out to them saying that no, ye to aap bataye
But
the
it's
aisa.
actually.
I cannot be telling that. So I have to be doubly responsible to understand in deeper, how they're living, what they want, what would suit them, their lifestyle, their status in the society, right? So this is the journey that has been there for last 22 years.
That is crazy. 22 years and I'm 24 right now. But this is so to actually end this segment, this proves the line that with more power comes more responsibility.
True.
And if you want that power, you have to be that responsible.
Yes.
So for all the young graduates out here, or the young people in the industry like me and every other who's watching here, ये कितना knowledgeable input है that you need to be patient, you need to spend time, you need to go through those rough phases with your head held high in order to actually become a person who eventually gets her freedom. So this is a learning for all of us that things might not just go off from the minute you enter the field. Shahrukh Khan took as many years as the alphabet in his name to actually become the person. So it is important for us also.
Patience, I agree, is the greatest virtue. And you have to just keep thinking, how you're adding value to everyone around you, and that should give you the greatest happiness and the greatest patience required.
Wow. Adding value and patience is here something which we can take away from this part of the conversation.
So as you enter to the first floor through the open well staircase, you enter the double volume living room. Now the intent behind giving a double volume space is to make the space look larger. with more light entering through the top and the bottom windows of the west facade. Now, since it is a west facade, I have sunken the wall so that I get filtered light inside and enabling me to accommodate a terrace in the front. Now these curtains are motorized, enabling the residents to operate them easily. From the living room opens up the dining area. Now this becomes the central space that also becomes a kind of a connecting link between the kitchen and the living room. The dining space is overlooking the internal courtyard which we have landscaped, and on the other side is the open well staircase. So generally even the living room or even the dining area is looks larger in appearance. In between the living and the dining is a small puja room which is around 20 square feet, which opens up into the dining area. Now what I have done here is I have incorporated a backdrop to the mandir on the internal courtyard wall, allowing natural light filtering through the Indian motifs that I have given, the pattern of Indian motifs that I have given in the daytime, and evening it is lit by artificial lighting. In the southwest corner is the master bedroom for one of the children who is married with 2 kids. So each floor is given to one family, and the area for approximate area that I've given in the bedroom is say 200 square feet. I'm mentioning the area so that we can understand the space that I've given in the bedroom, with a bed, circulation space, a wardrobe that is approximately 12 running feet. So you have 3 wardrobes and a small dressing at the entrance. So the entry to the bedroom is through a lobby space, so that privacy is maintained in the bedroom. The children's bedroom is overlooking the courtyard and is used. It is the colors that are used in the children's bedroom are more vibrant colors to equal their energy, and so there is a pop of orange here. If you look at the art piece on the wall, these are reflection of their 2 kids. The smaller one was more naughtier, and the elder one, who loves reading. So just incorporate a line drawing artwork that is reflected here. Now as you come to the second floor into the family room, this family room is just above the dining area on the first floor, and it overlooks the internal courtyard and gets natural light from there. It also overlooks the double height space of the living room. Now this is a connecting space between the 2 bedrooms and the study area on the second floor. The master bedroom in the southwest is similar in layout as the one on the first floor, with the bed, a long wardrobe aligning the wall. On the west is a large door that opens up onto the terrace. The other bedroom is the children's bedroom, articulated in a way using more colors and the artwork reflecting the energy of the little one who's going to stay in this room. It gets natural light from the internal courtyard.